over the next 14 days, markets could be entering a critical make or break zone. We've got the US job reports, inflation data, and the Fed's interest rate decision all lined up. And that's just the US, right? On the home front in Singapore, MAS has quietly deployed billions into our market through a powerful initiative, and it's already starting to show. But here's a twist. While sentiment looks strong on the surface, there are signals, both bullish and even bearish, emerging beneath the charts of the markets. So before you buy or sell your next stock, let's pull up the charts of the markets right now. The Dow Jones, the S&P500 index, the Nasdaq, and even the Singapore Straits Times index to see what they are really saying. Could there be even more upside? Or should you maybe be cautious? What I found this week honestly surprised me. Let's go. So the first index I'd like to cover will be that of the S&P500 index, right? The very popular index that makes up the top 500 companies in the US. So you can see right over here, we are trading at about 6,460 right now. So you can see that, I've kind of like turned on the moving averages, right? To kind of get the gauge of the trend for the markets, right? The S&P 500 index, both in the longer term and so in the short term. So you can see, right, for S&P 500 index, I've talked about it in my, live sessions, my Friday weekly shows as well, that we have been in a very good longer term uptrend, I would say since 2024, just by looking at the 100 days moving average right over here pointing up, and the 200 days moving average, the blue line. So the red is above the blue, both lines pointing up. It's been in a long-term uptrend since 2024. But in 2025, right, you can see that both lines started to move sideways, a little bit of a profit taking. However, over the past 1 to 2 weeks, finally, right, you can see that right now we have seen some signs of the longer term trend regaining strength. The 100 days moving average red line has crossed above the 200 days moving average blue line. So there are definitely some signs of the longer term trend, right, regaining control, turning back up. And in terms of the short term trend, we look at what we call the 20 days moving average, the line. I can see that somewhere in February we sold all the way down. The green line started to point down. So the short term trend was down, right? Not for 1 or 2 weeks or 1 month, right? But for like 2 or 3 months, it was down, down, down. But somewhere in end of April, the green line started to reverse back up as we saw a very good recovery. And there we go, right? All the way up the green line. Is it still pointing up right now? Well, I would say it is still slightly pointing up, right? So the longer term trend is up, has just turned up. The short term trend has been up since May and it is still pointing up. So I think there could still be more legs to this rally if we can break through a very critical resistance level. So what would be the level you want to watch for the S&P 500 index? Well, that would be the 6,500 level. So let me just draw it for you right over here. You can see, right? 6,500 over the past 2 or 3 weeks. We have touched that level a couple of times and we just couldn't, break above it, right? In fact, just like, 2 days ago, we hit it there. Selling came back and we kind of like went above it but came back down, right? When the market closed. Even yesterday as well, right? On like Friday evening as well, while we saw quite a bearish candle as we approached the 6,500 level. So I think that is a very key level, right? If we can break the 6,500, the short-term trend will continue to point up, and that would be where you see the green line would slope up even more. All right. So what I do right now is that, I've analyzed this stock just based on, very key support and resistance level, right? And also the moving averages that gives us an idea of the trend. But what happens is that I can also turn on, all right, the one good trend pro indicator. So I have this indicator, right, that helps me know when to get in, when to get out. It gives me an opinion on not just stocks, but also on the market as well, right? So you can see right over here, based on the one good trend pro indicator, that is the, I would say, the kind of like the formula, right, behind the one good trend strategy. You can see that's where it could guide us. So you can see, let me just turn on the bullish and bearish signals, pump. And there we go. So let's see what has came out for the market. Right? Are there any bullish or maybe bearish signals that have came out over the past weeks? And there we go. So let's take a look. Right? So you can see that very quickly for the S&P 500 index, every time we get the bullish signals coming out, right? And there we go, right? All the way up, another bullish signal, all we go, another bullish signal, all we go. And it doesn't just have bullish, right? It has red, bearish signals coming out. And there we go, right? All the way down from like March to like April, all right? And we got bullish signals coming out and the reversal actually started. But let's just zoom in to what has happened over the past few weeks, right? Are there any new bullish signal coming out? So we actually got a 1GT bearish signal being triggered, right? You can see we sold off quite near to that, I would say 6,200 level, all right? However, right, we kind of push away from this 6,000 200. So 6,200 would be what we call a little bit of a support level. So we're like, headed there. We got a bearish signal after having two bullish signal, right, since May. So a very strong rally from here all the way to the bearish signal. I would say a 15% upside, but then we started to move a bit sideways. But the point here is that over the past 2 weeks, we got a new 1GT bullish signal being triggered, right? While we are still below the 6,500 level, right? So just take note, I think the market is a bit more bullish now, right? There are talks about a rate cuts potentially coming somewhere in September, maybe even 2 rate cuts up to the end of the year. And that could be a catalyst, right? For the market, it could be what we call a kicker for it to break the 6,500 if it actually gets executed, right? So that's one of the positive news that have been coming to the market over the past few weeks. So let's take a look at the Dow Jones right now, one of the very popular index as well, 45,544. So you can see I've drawn, let me just go to draw this very key, I would say, resistance level, right? Look at this. This is a very key 45,000 psychological resistance level that we have been trading below for almost a year. Many times you can see, right, that was in November last year. Hit it there all the way down. In February, we hit it there. March, hit it there and all the way down. Same thing, right? Just last month in July, over here, we touched and came back down 4 or 5 times. We just couldn't break above the 45,000. But what happens over the past 1 week? Well, finally, guys, we have gone above the 45,000. I mean, now it's what, 45,544, right? So we are above that 45,000 key psychological resistance. That is a good thing, right? That means that we have come like tempted to break to a new high. And not only that, we have broke the new high and we stayed above this new resistance turn support level. So let me go to turn this rate 45,000 from a red line to a green line, because that would be where we would see some support for the Dow Jones coming back. And if you take a look at the moving averages, right, look at this, right, the red and blue line, as I say, right, we want the 100 days moving average, the red line, to go above the blue line and both pointing up. That would be where we get a confirmation of the longer term trend turning up, right? So yeah, it remains to be seen, but I can tell you, if we stay above 45,000, right, eventually it will happen, the red goes above the blue, both point up. That would be a good confirmation. What about the green line? So the green line, right, the 20 days moving average line, you can see, right, since May, it was like all the way up, right? I mean, like in February, March, while we sold off due to tariffs and all that, right? So down, reverse back up, rebounded, up, flat. And what is happening right now, I would say that the 20 days moving average line has started to point up, right? So the short-term trend has started to point up after consolidating, after pointing sideways for about a month. Now, all right, with the Dow Jones breaking above the 45,000, you can see the green 20 days moving average line has started to reverse back up as well, as another confirmation of even more strength. So I think that's where we could see even more bullish momentum as long as we stay above the 45,000, right? So now, let me go ahead to, as I said, turn on the bullish and even bearish signals from my one good trend pro indicator. So let's take a look over here. 1, 2, 3, pump. There we go, right? So you get a good opinion, a quick opinion on the markets, on any stocks. So let's see what has happened, right? Well, for Dow Jones, well, I'm not go too far, but look at this, right? We got a bullish signal, pump, right? Bearish signal came out in like February. There we go, right? The green line turned down is another confirmation, bearish signal, and down we went, right? Until we got a bullish signal. The 20 days moving average line went up as a confirmation of the reversal, and off we go. So got a bearish signal as we broke like the support level. But what happens, right? After 1 or 2 weeks, we got a new, so look at this right over here, right? We got a new 1GT bullish signal coming out, right, over the past 1 week. And as I say, right, the green 20 days moving average line has started to slope back up from pointing sideways. So with this bullish signal, right, that could be where we get another confirmation of this move of even more upside. I think if the 46,000 to give way, targets could be even revised to 47 to 48,000. So let's move on to the next one, and that will be the Nasdaq Composite Index, right? The index that kind of like makes up the top technology stocks in the US. So very quickly, we'll hit on to the STI, the Singapore Straits Times Index, after this. So you can see this is the Nasdaq right over here, right? I've turned on the bullish and bearish signals just to save time. You can see very quickly, well, longer term trend was up in 2024, a couple of like bullish signals, all the way up, another bullish signal all the way up. A bearish signal came out in December. You can see green line went sideways, point down, and there we go. But look at the very strong, I would say, recovery we've seen since May, right? Since May, you can see that the markets rebounded. Same thing for the tech-heavy Nasdaq, very strong recovery based on this 1GT bullish signal. all the way to here, about a 26% in about 4 months. Pretty good, right? Look at this, right? The green 20 days moving average line has started to point up as well. Up. Let's see whether is it still pointing up. Well, I would say still kind of like pointing up right now. So I think short-term trend is up. Longer-term trend looks something like the S&P500 index. You see that 100 days moving average, the red line, all right, just 2 weeks back, we have crossed above the blue line. So red above the blue, both pointing up. Another sign of confirmation of the longer-term trend turning up as well. But what will be a key resistance level whereby we need to break to potentially see even more upside, right? For more technology stocks like Nvidia and all that. Well, I would say let's go to draw this very key resistance level right now. So that would be the 21,000. Let me just go to draw this line right over here, right? Somewhere around that 21,800 level, right? To be exact, right over here. You can see that was where we were just about 1 month back. We touched it, consolidated, went all the way down. But look at this, right? A couple of bullish candles came back. Look at this, right? Even though it's red in color, but we got a couple of candles whereby we had long, lower shadow coming in. That shows that buyers actually came back to push the market higher when the market come like near the day end, right? So that's a sign of strength. That's a sign of strength, and we started to see that reversal happening. So 21,000 could be a near-term support level, right? 21,000. So take note of this support level for the Nasdaq, 21,000 all the way to 21,800, or maybe even 22,000 if you want to give a little bit of an allowance, right? So I think not too bad. We look pretty bullish still, right? We look pretty bullish still. There is no bearish signal that have came out for the Nasdaq since the one that got triggered in 29 April. Well, for S&P and even the Dow Jones, right? We actually got a bearish signal being triggered, right? But for this, right, it's just like all the way, right? We got a bullish signal and all the way up. And there's no bearish signal in sight, right? So it looks pretty good. Let's see if we can break the 21,800 or maybe the 22,000 over the next few weeks. And that would be where we could see even more upside momentum. All right, let's move on to the Singapore Straits Times Index, the STI. That has been really resilient, I would say, over the past 1 to 2 months. I think all of you have heard about this news from MAS, right, regarding the equity market development program, whereby they've allocated some funds, right, $5 billion to fund managers to come and invest into Singapore equities as well. Of course, they come out with new initiatives like $50 million for analysts to cover more of the small to mid caps, right? So over the past 1 to 2 months, right, we have seen a lot of strength in not just the banks and the big caps, but also the small to mid caps. And we have talked about many of those companies, right? You can check out my other YouTube videos or even join us on our Friday weekly Ask Me Any Stock session, right? But essentially, the market has pushed up, all right, in the Singapore market very strongly, and it is poised to hit even higher. And let's find out why is that so. So you can see, right, for the Singapore market, the STI, right, longer term trend has been up. Look at the red and the blue line, right? Since 2024, last year, red going up, blue pointing up. So longer term trend has been intact, right? Of course, in the short term, we did see a couple of selling. Look at the green line going down, all right? Green line going down. So short term trend can be down, right? Even though the longer term trend is up, right? And of course, we got a couple of bearish signals as well. That was in like March, right? In April, whereby Trump introduced tariffs. We sold off, but what happened? We got a new 1GT bullish signal. And there we go, right? The recovery happened all the way up. We got a bearish signal, but let's just zoom in to what has happened, I would say, over the past 2 weeks. Well, we have a new 1GT bullish signal just flashing right over here, all right, somewhere on the 13th of August. So I think, you want to watch this, the Singapore market, right? If we break this very key psychological resistance level, that there could be even more upside. Let me go to draw this very key level. So right over here, right, this would be what we call a horizontal resistance level for the entire market. Let me just draw it for you, right? So you can see right over here, right, I would say the 4,280 level. Look at it, right? We're right over here in July, right? Consolidated below it, all right? And there we go, right? Over here, same thing, we neared it. We got a bearish candle, sold off. Same thing over here, 2 weeks back, neared it, sold off. But look at what is happening today, right? Look at what is happening today. It seems like, so it's kind of like live. Look at it, right? Right now, it's 4,292. Sorry, it's 4,293, right? So it's kind of like moving up and down, right? So 4,280 was a very key psychological resistance whereby, we have been trading below for, I would say, more than 1 over month, maybe up to 2 months, right? But right now, it seems like we are kind of like breaking this 4280 level, right? So if the 4280, or maybe to give a bit of allowance, the 4300 psychological level were to give way as well, right? And maybe let's go to draw another resistance level right over here, right? Well, I think that's where we could start to see even more strength for this Singapore market, right? Many of the, not just the big caps, but even the small and mid caps can start to play catch up as well. And, more upside momentum can be seen as well. So just watch this level, guys. I think, for the Singapore market, we have been pretty resilient with this MAS announcement to revitalize the Singapore stock market, and it could still be at the beginning phase, right? There could still be a lot of funds, I would say, at the sidelines, waiting to be deployed, waiting to be allocated into Singapore equities, all right? And that could be where, we could see new highs being made on the Straits Times Index. So there we have it, guys. I've covered all the 4 markets, right? The S&P 500 Index, the Nasdaq, the Dow Jones, and Singapore's STI as well. So I will give a better picture, right, of where we are for each of the different markets and the key levels for each of them as well. If you're to breach those levels, I think the market is poised for even more upside. So along the way, we might see some profit taking coming in, right? A bit of consolidation. And I think that will be healthy as well, because if the market keeps on moving up and up and up, all right, week after week, day after day, then you might want to be careful. But if it moves up, it consolidates, all right, and take a breather, rest a little bit, and it moves up even higher, and maybe we get another bullish signal coming out, well, that will be what we call, all right, a healthy uptrend, a more sustainable uptrend as well. All right, so I hope you like this video, guys. If you found it useful, go to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, follow as well, so that you will not miss out on any new videos that I do. And if you want to find out a little bit more as to how to kind of like get this bullish and bearish signals that comes out, right, on this indicator, right, this one good trend pro indicator, well, what happens is that you can attend one of those free webinars that I'm running, all right, probably the next few weeks. Link is right below the video. Click on it, register for free webinar, and that's where I'll show you guys a little bit more about the entire strategy, how you could have a tool like this to guide you. All right, of course, we are looking at a few other confirmations as well. It's not just the bullish and bearish signals, but when we get a bullish signal plus some other confirmations, that's what could guide us to get in, maybe to get out, all right, if we see a bearish signal. So if you want to find a bit more, attend a free webinar. The link is right below the video. Click on it, register for it, and look forward to share more with you in this free webinar. Joey here. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.